Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Daily English Premier League podcast. I'm joined today with Louie to discuss the Merseyside Derby.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been a while since we've been on just us two. I mean, the last time I think we were on together is when you told me Bukayo Saka is the best player in the Premier League.
I've thought about that since then. Yeah.
When he
I
got
regret
injured.
it, partially.
Yeah. Well, at the time he was very good, but I was very set on Salah and still set on Salah and Van Dijk as the two best in the Premier League right now. But, you know, all is forgiven, especially since his unfortunate injury. You know, you can't help that.
Yeah.
He's a great player. Anyway, we're here to talk about something else today. And I would like to put this disclaimer out at the beginning that we will not be covering the Man City-Real Madrid match or the, what's the other one? Exeter versus Forest.
Forest win, by the way, most likely.
They probably will. If there is some sort of miracle where there's two miracles in Devon in the FA Cup fourth round, killing two giants of the FA Cup, of the Premier League, then that would be unfortunate for us because we'd have to rush out another podcast tonight.
Yeah. But looking ahead to the Merseyside Derby, it's the 120th Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park and the final one. And it's 41 wins each, 37 draws. So
Really?
it's a grudge match that will be held forever to have those bragging rights. Whoever wins this game.
Stat.
Yeah.
Oh, that is...
You looking forward in terms of, do you think you're pretty confident, basically?
Even more now. I'm not that confident just because Everton have been good recently, especially with David Moyes coming back and just working some Moyes magic. At a club that I think is the Everton manager of the Premier League era. You know, the whole Sean Dyche thing I thought was quite unfortunate because he had a bit of a new manager bounce at the beginning, if you remember, but you know, his tactics just weren't working towards the end. Everton were too negative, and you know, Moyes has found that balance where they can score goals now and also get clean sheets. And you know, Jordan Pickford has been one of the goalkeepers of the season, I think. You know, facing so many shots and getting as many clean sheets as he has had with such a poor defence. So, you know, it will be a tough one for Liverpool to go to. The Everton fans will be well up for it. It's on a midweek evening, so you know it will have a very hostile atmosphere, and also it's one of the most exciting derbies in English football and one of the most famous ones in the world. Two bitter rivals separated by Stanley Park, and you know it like you just puts it with that stat right there. There's a lot riding on this one,
and I feel like the Merseyside Derby really lives at Goodison Park, at least from my neutral perspective. It's the Goodison games that make this derby because they're always so tight. There's been 6 draws in the last 10, and most of those are 0-0. Like, this game is always so close, so fighting, no matter how big the difference is between Liverpool and Everton. So now Everton have actually found a bit of form going into this game, winning their last 3 Premier League games. They obviously lost to Bournemouth at the weekend, but in the second half of that game, they were pretty strong, I thought. They're coming into this game with far more confidence than they probably even were at the time it was called off, because although they had beaten someone like, I think it was Wolves, they beat massively in a midweek game, and it felt like that might buoy their confidence going into that game before it got called off.
That was crazy.
This is a far better situation for them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's what I feared, because I was hoping, you know, as a Liverpool fan, that Everton would go down, and it's been a very mixed season for Everton. I mean, we were all making fun of Dominic Calvert-Lewin just for scoring, going for so many games without scoring, and you know, Beto has suddenly found some confidence as well, doing that LeBron James celebration in the last with his last goal, and they're actually, unfortunately, quite exciting to watch again. I remember when West Ham fans wanted David Moyes out, and I just thought, well, as West Ham, where do you expect to be in the table? They were like sort of mid-table area. The
Yeah.
beginning of this season has been an awful one with Lopetegui going, not Lopetegui, whatever.
Yeah, Lopetegui.
Lopetegui going out and Potter coming in, and they don't look any better. So
They look marginally better, but yeah.
barely anything. I don't. They haven't been getting good results since his appointment.
No.
I know he needs time, but you've seen the difference that David Moyes has made since he came into Everton, and he won the Conference League with West Ham as well. So he has some recent success. It's not a situation of football has evolved and managers haven't. Like, I don't think Mourinho could do an incredible job in the Premier League anymore. That's just my opinion. But David Moyes has been able to adapt with the times, and it scares me, unfortunately, because I think Liverpool do, unfortunately, have a bad result in them at the moment. We saw how much we struggled against Forest, a defensive side, and Everton are a defensive team. And whenever they have the low block, we struggle. That's what happened against Plymouth. It just depends on the tactics and the strategy, a lot more than the players sometimes. And if a team can sit back and prevent goals from going in, then there's no reason why West Ham can't get West Ham. There's no reason why Everton can't get a victory.
Yeah, and obviously last year they were saying when they beat you, like, you lost the league to Goodison, essentially. Goodison.
Lost the league at Goodison Park, yeah.
Yeah. They're going to be hoping that they do that again and not only derail your momentum, but give Arsenal a bit of momentum, because then we've had a week and a half off in Dubai. It could be a massive game in shifting that momentum, because, like you say, you're coming off the Plymouth game, and as much as it was essentially a B/C team, it could probably halt momentum a bit. I don't think you wanted to win it, like, just based on the subs, really. He had, like, Curtis Jones on the bench and decided to bring on more youngsters. So,
well, Curtis Jones was injured, so that's the reason. But we just didn't bring enough players. That was what it was. We had no one on the bench that could play from the senior level apart from Darwin Núñez. And at the end of the game, we just had three players in the same position. Núñez, Jota, and Chiesa all just sort of veering off into the left. We had Jarell Quansah bombing forward. We had Harvey Elliott basically playing at centre-back at the end of the game and doing hopeless balls forward. The thing is, you can't even blame that one on our youth players, because they tried and their goal came from a penalty, which was given away by a senior player in Harvey Elliott. I know he's like 21, but he's still a senior player. And it was a really slow, frustrating watch. And everyone having a go at Chiesa after the game. At least that man was trying, but Gomez going off after 8 minutes really put a halt to our proceedings, and it was terrible. But I think majority of those players won't play. I don't think Jota will start. I think they'll probably start with Diaz and Gakpo. Salah on the right because he's rested. McAllister, Gravenberch, and probably Szoboszlai in the three in the middle, and that's the team that I think can give us the edge if we're looking to players. Those are the players to look for, and especially the form that Cody Gakpo has been in recently. I think he'll cause huge amounts of trouble for Everton. But like I mentioned before with the tactics, it really is tipped on a knife edge, I think, this one.
Yeah, well, before we continue to speak about this game, let's hear a little bit about Zencastr.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Well, thank you, past Louie.
I hate hearing that now.
I was looking back at Moyes' Derby games in his first stint. How good would you, like, without knowing, I imagine, how good do you think he did in that first stint in the Merseyside derbies?
I remember a couple of ones going his way. I can't remember if he was in charge when Jagielka got that last minute equaliser against us, that ridiculous volley. Out of how many games does it say?
22.
Out of 22 games, I think he probably won. I'm gonna go 10.
He won 3.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I was so surprised. It feels like, obviously, he was in charge in their most like impressive run. He's got, I think it was said, like 9 of their best 11 points finishes. It's like,
Wow.
how did he only win 3? There were 7 draws, 12 losses. Like, it feels like he did far better than that.
I mean, historically, we were the better team than Everton, but
Yeah.
there was that Everton team that was sort of like late 2000s, early 2010s when they had some very good players. I think Moyes was maybe just about to be on his way out at that point, but I mean, I can't remember the years that he joined and left. But I remember being disappointed a couple of times as a kid. I mean, there are some very good memories from those derbies. I remember seeing Gerrard score with a skinhead in one of them, smacking it bottom left corner from outside the box. There was that amazing derby at Goodison Park where Luis Suarez dived in front of him as well. I remember absolutely hating Marouane Fellaini as a kid as well. Yeah, there were some good derby moments that I can remember, but only winning 3, that's crazy.
I hated Delafeu and Morales era. They seem to
Oh,
always just score against us and beat us. But
yeah, I hated Steven Pienaar as well. That's another one.
yeah,
And Jagielka, I hated just because of that goal he scored against Mignolet. We were 1-0 up at Anfield, and there was like 93, 94 minutes, and he just smashed one, and it from outside the box, first time, and it hit the bar and went in. Mignolet couldn't get near it. Yeah, there were some unbelievable moments, and they always just broke into a fight as well. In recent years as well, do you remember the Roberto Firmino getting shoved by
yeah,
what was his name? Was it Mason Holgate who did it? I think.
yes. I think it's Mason Holgate. Yeah,
So that was quite something. And there was the Mane last minute winner at Merseyside in the Merseyside derby at Goodison when a flare was thrown onto the pitch, and
the
I'm
Origi
just
late winner
listening.
stands out to
The
me.
Origi late winner when Klopp ran onto the pitch at the end.
Yeah.
God, there have been some unbelievable Merseyside derbies down the years, and it's a fixture that never fails to make people excited. And this one will be. I think you have certain feelings before you go into a match where it feels like it's going to be a big game. This does feel like one of those ones.
Staying on that sort of like past derbies, have you got one that stands out like almost the best and worst derbies that you remember?
Well, I think the worst one has to be that Jagielka goal. If you're talking about just down the years, I think the best Merseyside derby ever is when we beat them in the FA Cup final in 1989. Ian Rush and John Aldridge scored, and it was in the same FA Cup season when Hillsborough happened. So it was a huge match for the city of Liverpool. It was at the old Wembley, and John Aldridge had sort of been on the fringes of the squads that all season, but he couldn't really break into the team because Ian Rush was playing there. John Aldridge started the game, and he scored early on, and Ian Rush scored another goal that goal has been in sort of Liverpool songs for years. Rush scored 1, Rush scored 2, Rush scored 3, because he always scored against Everton. But that one was absolutely massive, and that was back when the FA Cup was the biggest game on TV. So it was a huge match, and that was also when that was also post Heysel, so there was no European football at the time either. So that was the big cup competition in England, and a Merseyside derby in the FA Cup final. It's always going to be big.
Yeah. Well, before we sort of round off and touch on sort of predictions, what you're expecting from this, let's hear about the Global Sports Podcast Network.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Well, we've touched on sort of legendary Merseyside derbies. I'd be lying if I expected a legendary one. I think, like you were saying, it could be quite a monumental one. I think it could be a bit sort of trudgy. That's not a word, but sort of like
bragging
rights. Almost like boring, a bit aggressive, and
yeah,
I'm leaning towards a draw, like a sort of 1-1, relatively boring draw.
Yeah, it's just the more you talk, the more memories are brought up of that one, because it was a 1-1 draw in Brendan Rodgers' last match in the Merseyside derby, and that's when he got fired the next day. It's going to be a lot. I think everyone's expecting it to be quite close, just because of how unsuccessful matches have affected Liverpool's form recently, and also how Everton have this new manager bounce, and it's Moyes' first Merseyside derby back as Everton manager. I just think it all depends on what happens in the first half, because I think if Liverpool score one, that will shake Everton. Early on, that will shake Everton. They might step out a bit more from defence, and will be able to expose the space in behind. Also, Salah just always seems to score in big matches, so you can put one on him scoring again and probably running away with a golden boot. However, I think the way that you spoke about this match maybe not being too big exciting in the grand scheme of things, exciting. What I will say is, if Everton do beat us and then that affects our form in the Premier League and Arsenal overtake us, then that will be looked at as one of the big matches in Premier League history. Like in the same way that Liverpool beating Newcastle for Manchester United to win the Premier League in the 90s 4-3, that will be looked at as one of the big matches like that in that respect. So I'm hoping for a Liverpool win. I think we are favourites, but I think it will be cagey. Like you mentioned, I don't think it'll be too exciting. I think Everton will be sitting back, Liverpool will be trying to pass them to death, and it will be left late, and that's how I can see it, because I'm just being a bit pessimistic at this point.
Yeah. Are there any Everton players you're particularly scared of in this game? Because I look at the form of Njai, and watching him against Bournemouth at the weekend, he's so much better than Everton. Like, no disrespect to Everton fans, but he is so good.
Yeah, Iliman Njai is a terrific player. I think Beto, just because of his size as well, and his power and his speed, and the form he's in, he scares me a little bit. I think because it's a Merseyside derby and because they're playing against Liverpool, we always seem to bring the best out of teams whenever we play them, and I think everyone will have a good day for Everton. It really does seem that way. Iliman Njai is a good one. I think Idrissa Gueye is absolutely class, isn't he? I know he's getting on a bit, but he's just so calm. He deals with pressure and pressing really well. I think he's probably one to look out for as well. They seem to overload the midfield quite a lot and get loads of players behind the ball. So I think, anyone who's behind the ball and gets an interception or gets multiple interceptions is going to look good against us. I think it's a game where we have to be really precise going forward and really intricate with our passes. And we'll see what happens.
And I mean, obviously, Slot's been sort of lauded for his tactical changes, especially in the second halves of games. Feels like that could be massively important in this game, because Everton under Moyes, obviously it's only 4 games in the league, but they've started really well in the first half. So if they come out, get a goal, and we'll just sit for the rest of the game, I feel like it's a massive game for Slot.
He
Yeah.
got a goal in 10 seconds the other day. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll be interested to see how Connor Bradley plays as well, because Trent's back in training now, but Bradley was rested against Plymouth, so he'll start against Everton. And I'll be really interested to see how much he pushes up. With the Spurs match, he got the assist for Soboslai's goal, and he was basically playing at centre forward at that play. So it will be a big match for him, and also a huge shame for Trent to miss a Merseyside derby because he absolutely hates Everton. He grew up with loads of Everton Academy graduates in school, so he naturally would love this match. I don't know what's going to happen, but it will be interesting to see how much we struggle against Everton's defence. I think that is the big battle. I think it's sort of like in between Everton's penalty area and the beginning of their third. Where Soboslai pops up, it will be a proper battle.
And what do you expect the lineup then to just essentially be what it's been all season, just with Bradley instead of Trent, and sort
I
of
think,
I imagine the front
yeah,
three of Salah, uh, Diaz or Jota, and then Gakpo.
it will be Diaz because Jota played the entire match against Plymouth and it's his first game back from injury. So it would be stupid if we played him 2 matches in a row this close to each other. Diaz and Gakpo and Salah will start as the front three just because none of them travelled to Plymouth, so they sort of got the weekend off. Soboslai will start because he didn't go to Plymouth. Same with Gravenberch and McAllister. I think the rest of the team sort of makes itself. Bradley, Robertson. I think Robertson's been good recently, but he just has been so under the magnifying glass recently, and he plays in a position that doesn't get very much recognition to the point where you don't really notice if he's had a good game or not. But I think he's
Yeah.
been good. Allison in goal, obviously, and Van Dijk, Canate. I think that is, yeah, as you mentioned, the sort of starting 11 that's happened all season, with the exception of Trent being out and Bradley being in.
And I imagine in terms of Everton, it will probably be as it was at the weekend. They had Pickford, O'Brien, Tarkovsky, Branthwaite, Mikalenko. I think he is
Yeah,
slightly injured,
Mikalenko
so he
got.
played young left back at the weekend. So it'll be,
Yeah,
I
he
think
got
that's like
taken
the
off.
only position that will change. And then
I
Gay,
absolutely hate Ashley Young. I hate him so much because he played for
I mean,
United and Everton, and he's a
yeah,
cocky so and so. So I naturally hate him for that.
yeah. They had then obviously Gay, Garner, Decorian behind Beto, and Giant Lindstrom on the wing. But they brought Alcaraz on at the weekend, obviously only on loan, and he had a
Mm,
pretty like nothing spell at Southampton, but came on, hit the post from a free kick pretty quickly, and they were really strong in that second half against Bournemouth, and it was
yeah.
honestly a miracle they didn't score. So it'll be
Well, they scored
interesting.
right at the end, didn't they? And you like 90th minute from Njai. Oh no, that was Leicester. My
No,
mistake. I'm mixing
yeah,
matches up in my head. Um, yeah, I, I don't watch a lot of Everton this season, just because watching Sean Dyche ball for so long has kind of bored me of looking at their team. And since Moyes has come in, I haven't really had much. I've been so busy recently, so I haven't been watching a ton of Everton. But I look at the results and I look at the players that are playing, just thinking, well, it just takes a few tinkers, and suddenly, I missed the FA Cup match against Bournemouth, and you know,
I was watching primarily for Bournemouth, and then it was like, oh, Everton are quite good now, which is slightly concerning for us as well because we already have issues against Everton, and now like it was bad enough against Dyche, and we were good against Moyes when at West Ham, but it was kind of concerning to see them actually look pretty promising going forward for once. So
it scares me. It does
yeah,
scare me. I just don't
this
want
game's been
Everton to be good. It's
no, this
one of
game's
those.
been 0-0 more than any other game between any other Premier League teams. I think it was 12 times, but I don't think it'll be 0-0 this time. I think we should go
Mm,
on to predictions. Really, I said 1-1 earlier.
okay.
I think it will be a bit like a counter-attacking Njai or Beto goal for Everton and like a Salah penalty maybe.
Yeah,
for
it's
Liverpool.
just the fact that it's at Goodison Park gives us a bit of a disadvantage because it's the last one there, and the fans will be absolutely up for it. So I think I think it will be left late if Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool are so good defensively with Van Dijk there, and I just look at Van Dijk in that defense and think, God, thank God we've got him. In the same way that Arsenal fans have looked at Saliba in recent years, like, God, I just want us. He's got to bail us out again. He's one of
Yeah.
those. So I
I mean,
think, yeah, go on. Sorry.
ultimately, you only get to play the last game at Goodison once, so obviously it's going to be a bigger deal for Everton because it's their home ground. But I'm sure there'll be players in that Liverpool dressing room who have been there a long time and are like telling the people who don't
Yeah,
care
but you
as
could say
much.
the
I think
same
it's
about
quite
Everton.
yeah.
You know,
But I
Seamus
think you
Coleman, he's still at the club, and he knows how big this match is because he's been there for years, even back to when Moyes was in charge, and Moyes as well, an Everton managerial legend in his own right. He'll be really hoping for a result because can you imagine the sort of good press he'll get as the new manager if they can pull off a win in their last game at Goodison Park. I just think you look at the quality of the teams, and that automatically makes you think Liverpool should probably win this. You know, top of the league with a decent size now, and this is the game in hand that we've been looking forward to for ages. So I just think we have to win this one. But I do think if we do win it, it will be left late, and I can't see there not being a controversial refereeing decision in this game as well. That's another one because the game will threaten to get out of hand.
yeah. I mean, not many Premier League games go by without a controversial refereeing decision at the moment. Yeah, I mean that the bragging rights I think makes it a much bigger deal. It'll be interesting to see if that's played up more because I hadn't seen it until I was just looking to make notes for this podcast, and like 41 wins each, like 120th Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park, everything on the line before going to Bramley-Moore Docks, whatever they're gonna call the stadium. Like this is so much bigger the more like you look into it, and like I said, you only get to play this game once. Like
yeah, let's hope for a Liverpool win. I'm gonna say 2-1. Leave it right at the end, and yeah, I think Salah will score again. It's just the sort of game that's made for him, and he's the hungriest player in that Premier League team and in that Liverpool team at the moment. So I'm nervous thinking about. I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about how big this match is going to be. It's a cold night in Liverpool. Fans will be turning up drunk because they've got out of work. They've been able to get on the booze. It's an evening. I can't wait. I'm telling you. So yeah, let's see what happens.
well, it's going to be incredibly exciting to watch, and look forward to hearing from you after the game for tomorrow's podcast. We've got a 2-1 prediction from Louie, a 1-1 prediction from me. Please somehow let us back into the title race, even though it's already been dead since December. But that is us for today. Thank you for joining me, Louie. And
thank you very much.
And it will be goodbye from me. And
a goodbye from me. Sorry, I thought I didn't
always
realize
screwed this up. I did this with Ian last week.
Okay. It's a goodbye from me. Thank you.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.